it's still wild to me the fact that we didn't have any like transitionary chapters between the Elefseria arc and this arc, but Mishima's moving in real fast with this one. And the thing is, like, it's not moving like at a suddenly weird pace. It's more of just like this is like a bonus event that Selene is springing on everybody, and so like it's like direct right to action. Well, right to the events. They're on their way. Because there's like really no action right now. I mean, this chapter was way more on general information, which I actually really liked. It gave us a good insight on Elefseria. It made Elefseria seem a little bit less sus, which is good. But there's like talking about the sixth dragon god and confusion of the fact there was five dragon gods and that this is the sixth one. And when they're talking to Elefseria, he's explaining that he's got to go to the Labyrinth. He's got to go like see what's going on over there. And the main cast is like, take us with you after he transforms into a dragon. Makes sense. Like, it's a good thing he didn't try and argue with them because these guys are clearly like as a unit stronger than you. So like, you gotta there's no reason to leave him behind. You're gonna want to bring him with you. Like, it's gonna be a much more dire situation than bringing multiple very capable wizards with you for any, including dragon slayers. So when they're flying over there, we get a lot of information on what's going on, what happened, and a little bit of a lore thing too. So while Elefseria is talking to him, he's saying there used to be 6 dragon gods, but one of them was actually defeated, like it died, and then 6 became 5. And they're even saying like, oh, weren't you, did you say it was sleeping there? He's like, well, yeah, but I meant kind of more like its remains. And they're like talking about like the Great Labyrinth, like, oh, is it that its tomb? And just trying to like figure out where things are kind of unraveling right now. But while Elefseria is talking to him at the same time, he's like, the sixth dragon god, Dogramag, and he was the weakest of the dragon gods, but he was still extremely powerful compared to a normal dragon. Obviously, just because he's the weakest out of the top guys doesn't change the fact he's one of the, well, he was one of the top guys. And it was actually Elefseria that defeated him 100 years ago, which gives us a pretty good spot of understanding Elefseria's strength. If he was able to defeat, Dogramag, like that just makes sense to me. Well, like we don't know him in full like display, but unless he had a lot of help, he defeated this guy. That should be like a accomplishment for him. So I would assume he's around that dude's level. But during that point, he's explaining, he's like, well, in exchange for that victory, Dogramag ate my heart. And they're a little confused, and Nats is like, how are you not dead? And there's like a whole part about like explaining the Dragonification, about how not only does your body, like your outward body, change once you slowly become a dragon, but your organs and like your pretty much all of your insides as well. Like all of you switch into that of a dragon. And they're like talking to him, like saying like, oh, did you grow another heart? And he's like, not really, but sorta. I mean, he's just trying to explain that my body just doesn't really need a heart anymore. And that's a pretty wild statement to say. But while he's explaining it, he's saying that pretty much his body created an organ that that took over the spot for his heart. So the dragon bodies are pretty wild if they're able just to pretty much pick up any slack for any damaged organ. Like, I wonder how that exactly works in total. But because of that, he's able to keep living. I'm guessing, being a dragon man now, he's gonna be having a long-lasting set of longevity. And following that, he explains that the real terror of Dogramad came after he died, where all the magic he had in his body, because he was a ground dragon, it went into the ground. And that's when it started to form as the Great Labyrinth, and it just keeps growing and growing and growing and extending. There is a point where he's saying how some of the people that went in there, like 1,000 plus people went in there before he sealed it, and only a couple came out, and they were going there for years, and they just never went, they never figured out where they were going or what was happening. Everything around this is pretty wild. I really wish that when he was like explaining the labyrinth, that we saw a treasure hunter guild, and maybe we saw like all the dudes from Sylph Labyrinth like kind of like make just like a quick cameo, maybe trying to go into there or like running away. But while Elefseria is like just kind of just giving this general explanation, they're starting to close in on the whole place where the labyrinth is, and there's even a part where Lucy's like, is it still extending? Like, is it still growing? And almost everything that is asked about Elefseria's chapter is like, I don't really have an answer to that. I don't really know. So I don't really have, pretty much I don't have anything to tell you. I don't really keep asking questions I don't have the answers to. But with Diabolos going there, there's the belief that they're going to eat the remains of the dragon god and kind of eat up the bones. There was a really good comment in a stream I did that someone is saying, like, what if Wendy uses Milky Way to pull up Dogramog's soul? Because this is the first time we've seen a deceased dragon like have an after effect after he's died, like an Atlas flame becoming the eternal flame. But on top of that, he's only been dead for like 100+ years because Elefseria is the one that killed him, whereas Zirconis, his soul was still under Crocus and everything. So he like 400+ years in his soul was still like capable, like around enough that Wendy was able to use Milky Way on it. So I would assume that with Dogramog only having died like 100 and plus or so years ago, would be fully ready to be summoned back. But his soul's gonna be on standby pretty much. But the Diabolos, like from what they're like guessing, is gonna go inside, like find the remains, the bones and stuff, and eat all the magic and power that they can just get from consuming a dragon god. If they ate him though, they should get his whole like ground dragon or earth dragon abilities, like when they kind of like fuse more with their already existent dragon eater abilities. I don't really know. I really want to get a dragon eater chapter where we just get some lore stuff, because this was pretty solid on just like Elefseria and the situation and stuff. But like he's very determined to not let them go in. Like, we can't let these guys get these bones. It's going to be a big problem. Like, they're just going to cause more havoc, more chaos, and more of a negative scenario for pretty much everybody involved. But when he's talking to them, he's saying how the thing that's stereo most is like his heart. Like, he feels his heart in the labyrinth, and he's not sure if like Dogramug could even fully digest his heart, or if it was recreated somewhere within the labyrinth, or if it was protected by some form of spell. It's a big mystery to him, but he's like, I can feel it in my chest, and everything around me is telling, like, giving me signs for it. And we do get a little bit of his dragon attribute, but because he's saying that, like, oh no, this is the power of the law dragon will extend to Diabolos, and they're trying to figure out what exactly that is. And he's saying it's like the power of knowledge, and it like lets him obtain all the information in the magical world. Again, I'm wondering how exactly that functions, and like what's the extent of that is. Like, could he just learn spells? Could he just like know almost anything by standing there? There was the chairman was mentioned, Crawford was mentioned. He's just like, yeah, that guy's magic was ass compared to mine, and just kind of like brushed under. I do always like it when we get like little tiny character callbacks like that, where it doesn't have to be like some big shift in the conversation, but it can just be a small bit in there that nods back to just an older point in the series. But there was another side bit in there that was really weird. So when he's saying that he got like information on Face, and he's like talking about Face and Etherion, but he's like at the same time saying that like there's a negative legacy that the country has, like just Fiore in general. He's even calling just straight the negative legacy, and there's more than Face and Etherion. But at the same time, it was made initially for self-defense for their country. But the thing that they have more, I can't even imagine what else like Mishima's gonna give them. Because if it's like if it's like something that's like an ancient weapon that they just got their hands on, that's one thing. Because there was some stuff in here that made me think that they didn't actually invent Face. Like, we never really got confirmation of where Face came from. But while they're talking about it, they're saying how like the Crawford and them acquire the information to use it. So that must mean that Face has always been a thing, kind of similar to like how Alta Face was to Elentier. But when they end up getting there, this was a point that I was very happy about, because one, it adds them to the arc, and two, it validates a claim that I've been making about Selene this whole time, is that once we see Godjill and Loxus, one, again, like I said, hype. It's going to be cool to have them here. They're going to get the battles. They're going to get hopefully some new feats and show off some new spells. But besides that, I've been saying for a while that Selene's a threat in a lot of ways. But one of the things she could do is she could just grab characters at any point she wants with her teleportation. And she's so powerful that nobody's going to really be able to stop her. The only people that otherwise could like actually fight back against her and resist would be Ignia and Viernes. Whereas, like, what's Loxus or Godjill going to do to Selene? Like, what are they going to do to try and deny her? But they get there, obviously, and the guys are, like, trying to figure out what's going on. Elefseria notices they're Dragon Slayers. And they're saying, they were just at, like, with the rest of the guild, and this, like, in the blink of an eye, they just appeared. Like, out right over here, right in front of, like, where everybody else was. And Elefseria then starts to sense something. They look up, and you get this really sick panel of Selene up on the hillside, like overlooking the entrance to the Great Labyrinth, just poised and poached right there, snug on top of it, and it's just ready to be powerful and menacing. She did a really good job this chapter, just in the end, of taking the show and putting a lot of pressure on the table, just like setting up a lot of force. Like she's been on a streak. I've always been hyping up Selene, but she's been doing really like a ton extra lately, which has been super. But while they're trying to talk to him, she's just pretty much saying, "Oh, I'm here because Dogger Mag was an old friend of mine. I just came to visit, but now let's play a game." And she's like asking Fairy Tale to come join them for for some fun. One thing that is still on the table, and it was demonstrated with Loxus and Godjill, is that she can just teleport them over whenever they want. Now, my hopes is that we could get something like a, Jalal getting pulled into the current arc by Selene, maybe to mess with Urza or something. He is about to join the guild momentarily. We're just waiting to see how that progresses. But once we have that all set up, we can have Jalal pulled over, and maybe he could eat some of Dogger Mag's remains and become a heavenly body dragon slayer. Mamashima, I know it's on your mind. Just do it. It'd be really sick. Either way, though, Selene's just looking beastly as ever in this chapter. She was just ready to go and ready to like throw hands, but at the same time, she's just like, I don't have to throw hands with you guys because you guys are gonna participate. You got something to do, and it's either stay out here with me or go in there and stop those guys from messing with Dogger Mag's remains. Whatever Elefseria is gonna do is like a big question mark to me, just because I can't tell if he's gonna have a much bigger kind of like role in what's going on. Like, is he gonna fight anybody? Is he gonna like actually play aid? Is he gonna solve a lot of the problems once they get inside of the Great Labyrinth? Like, what exactly is Elefseria going to do to provide for the main cast that is somehow going to add an extra utility, or like something that they just kind of are like their own specialist in kind of like hanging out? I don't think so. Well, like, we don't even really know how like the law dragon thing works. Like, how does he fight somebody with it? Is it just knowledge? Is he gonna like have a bunch of downloaded pretty much like big spells, kind of like what happened with Lucy in Aronometria the first time? Could he just be doing that, and then he's got a spot where he just like sits and like force learns all of these really crazy abilities? I don't know. I don't really know what that one. So Elefseria right now, we'll see. It's everything about his powers and his moveset is going to be really weird, just based off of the fact that like none of the Dragon Slayers in 100 Years Quest have had like conventional regular attributes. They've all been weird and kind of all over the place. So I'm guessing that whatever Elefseria has is like he's apparently a law dragon. Whatever his law dragon powers do is probably going to be something really crazy and all over the place. So yeah, Selene rolling up. She's now decided that like the games are going to begin. I'm guessing she wants to play with Fairy Tale because they're the ones that ruined her whole setup in Elentier, and now she's back over here. When Bactenologia's gone, so she should be fine. It's going to be really intriguing to see like what Mishima has planned for this character, given that she's already been around for a while and looks like she's got a lot more general room left in her. So I mean, I'm happy with that 100%. But anyway, other than that, like, it's weird because a lot of the stuff that is like was in the chapter was general discussion stuff. I'm gonna do some videos on just talking about like maybe like Dragonification and talking about like the situation that they're in with like the Great Labyrinth and how it's functioning right now. But yeah, other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, but friend the like button, subscribe button, check out my other videos. But than that, I appreciate everyone's already subscribed. Thank you all for listening. Bye.